So last year, weeks, whatever, month, what did we do? Demo from Sarah. I'm sure I'm missing an H somewhere.
This is actually the official version, but she sometimes likes to add an H at the end.
Thank you. It will be fine then. And it was about testing. There was some testing.
It was testing headless apps with a headless front end, and also testing or running tests written in JavaScript. And there was actually a third. Oh yeah, and also adding time shifting to tests.
Okay. And some PRs and some discussions. And today. Fine. What's the first time I typed that? I almost had to think about it. So we have demos today. A lot of demos. Who's first?
I have a demo.
Oh, but I can't even distinguish who said whatever. I am so done. I heard Mike.
Demo interference. Go ahead, Mike.
I have a demo.
I have a demo. Zoltan has a demo. Anyone else?
Okay, just that. My demo is actually not something about what I have done, but I'm giving a demo on behalf of somebody else. And I will also have a topic, revamping the admin area of OrchardCore.
Yeah, we'll end the meeting before that then.
No, that's the best topic.
That's the...
Can I also suggest a topic? The schedule if we're doing the a harvest this year, so that those who are in the corporate world can request for PTOs in advance. Do you think we can have a rough date? You think?
We haven't started anything on that front, but I think we will have one. Yes.
Larem has started apparently.
Oh, yeah, you are the first.
No, I'm looking forward to Hungary, Budapest. Huh?
I don't think it will be Hungary, but most possibly Europe, actually.
Yeah, the issue is that how do you get to Hungary? You probably need a new visa to go to Hungary if you're European. I don't know. Who knows?
Not yet.
Not yet.
You can take a boat.
Who knows? Okay, so status. I hope. I don't think there is much status because I didn't see much notifications. Benedict.24 location, so nothing new here. OrchardCore. I haven't pulled in a while, but I will filter on the release branches and the main branch here. So I just have what matters to us here. Main release, beautiful. I need someone, not everyone is here. Okay, and I'm recording. And so we stopped on December 17th. Here. Oh, James was here. Update docs taxonomy. It was significant change on documentation. So just one taxonomy on the left. What branch is that? We have the yellow one here. So we look into that. Because there was a commit there. Fixed are equal outcomes in display comparison. Correct. Yeah. So the wrong property was checked here in the workflow editor. The new contributor, Stephanie. Add recipe roles permission behavior. Add recipe roles permission behavior.
Now, in the roles recipe, you're able to control the behavior. You can say, add more permissions to the existing permission collection, or replace existing, or I forgot what else we have. Replace, add, and remove. Yeah, you can also say, I want the recipe to remove permission that already exists. So now you have that flexibility. And by default, it's replaced, which is the same behavior as we have today.
Yeah, useless command, the name is not the best. Behavior is a weird thing. You could say action, task, these are common verbs that we use. And I don't think you need to also repeat permission. So like task action should be simpler to manage. It's just a name. So it works.
Yeah, that permission should be there. Behavior, sure, you can have a better name. But permission, because it's not like the scope there is not permission scope. So here you're basically saying, I want to change the behavior or the action of the permissions, which is a collection below. It's a different scope.
What else can you have than permissions here?
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
so
here
nothing.
You can't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. So a name like this, it's not, I don't know, permissions behavior.
Yeah, because name is a role.
Yeah, but it's all, this is a step. So this is the roles step. It's not like, oh, these are the roles. This is the role step. And so the same way.
But each entry, you see the name, that's the name of the role.
I
right?
understand.
So the context is the role there. I mean, we could rename it, but I think permission.
There is nothing else than permissions property. So whatever action you will have is fine to assume it's under permission. It's okay. We can discuss it later. It's just what I see here. Add new contributor. Update Fluid.Core 2.16. There has been some updates on Fluid, but fixes. If I type Fluid, say it asks me Fluid sexuality. Nope, that's Fluid Sebastian.Salmattia. And in this case, releases so 2.16. So there was a bug. There is the new assigned event when we want to intercept assign, but we don't care. A JavaScript encoder option. So this was requested by a big customer. JavaScript encoder, the idea is that right now, if you do, I'll just look at the issue. If you do pipe.json, it will use the default JavaScript encoder, and pipe.json means formatting in JSON. So it will use JSON, system text JSON to format a string, and it outputs stuff like that. So if you write Chinese, if you write Greek, Cyrillic, then you will have things like this generated. So now there is an option to say to provide a customer encoder and remove that. We have the same thing with HTML, by the way. And just about it. So nothing interesting in our case, but maybe the JavaScript encoder, which we might want to define by default. Now we have this version, well, the next version that will appear soon in the release. So we might want to define the new JavaScript encoder to render JSON more nicely. Configure Renovate to update the .NET Framework specific package in the .NET Framework aware way. .NET Framework aware way. What do you mean by .NET Framework? Because it's not a thing anymore.
Yeah, it's the framework called .NET. Yeah, it's it's a lowercase f. That's important. This is we have a couple of packages in that root props file for the dual targeting of .NET 8 and .NET 9, which are sometimes different. This is about these, because without a configuration like this, Renovate would try to update the .NET 8 versions of the packages to the latest, which of course would fail. So this is about preventing that.
Okay. So does it mean that anything that is currently below 9 won't get updated, right?
Those packages
Oh, I
that
see.
match the names above, yes.
Anything that is under 9 should not have something, should always have something that is under 9 also. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, this works because fortunately those packages all follow pretty much the .NET versioning convention. But we would have something uglier here if that weren't the case.
But yeah, it's possible that one day, for instance, Serilog says their 10th version, like you might want, yeah, it happens to be 9 and 9, but it's just, it happens to be 9 for all of them. But yeah, it might just be another version for some of them that we don't want to update. Okay. Show ThemeToggler on supported themes only. Okay, so now instead of injecting it everywhere, it's injected in each specific theme that supports that. Okay. Oh wow! Wait, what? That's what I thought, and then I see that. So the theme render when the theme. But why? That's weird. Why duplicate that constraint when you...
Because theme is a feature and you could enable that theme without making it the default. So it would still inject. So in this case, you want to inject only when the theme is the default.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Font awesome 672. I think, no, that's not an old one. Okay, updated fonts. Okay. Check
By the way, speaking of Font Awesome, I submitted an issue with Font Awesome to request to add OrchardCore logo. If you guys really want, also go and comment or put some reaction on that issue, because that's how they pick up which brand they're going to include in their package. It'll be nice to have the OrchardCore logo part of the fonts.
Yeah,
Can you link to that?
I won't do that personally, but for if you want.
Can you link to the issue, Mike?
Yeah, I'll post it in the chat. I'll find it.
Thanks.
Add permissions before displaying widgets. I wonder if you don't have access to the type definition once you have the widget. Do we have something like that? The content item returning its type definition. I don't, maybe we don't have that. At least in this case.
Widget is a content type, so you always have definition for it.
But here, this is a content item here.
Correct.
So you don't have access to its type definition.
That's why there's a try get. on line 62.
Yeah, I believe we have that when we create custom parts and we like parts view models, part shapes, and then we set the type definition as a property. Okay. And maybe it's the case there, actually, even if it's a content item, maybe, well, it's a shape, right? This here can be a shape. So it's possible that there is a property actually that contains already the type definition to be verified. That would prevent them, at least in that dictionary and that Twitter. Might be also something we want to do, by the way, if we can, to add the property with the definition in the widget shape here, if that's useful. No, that's the same way we do for most of the parts, content parts, where we have access to the content type bar definition, to the content type definition directly. Okay, nice. Remove widget checkbox, widgets checkbox, because there was a checkbox that was not used. I think I remember. Yeah, there was no way to do batch updates on widgets, even though they are widget checkbox. Then this PR got merged. Translation all package.
I have a PR to revert it.
It's not yet there, but there is a PR because it broke you. We don't know why, but it broke something apparently. And the change was to say that you don't get the translation when you target a new application CMS target, but when you target any OrchardCore application, even the core data package, the one without the one we use as the default web app. Type picture in the theme. That's something that we have already in other themes.
Yeah, we have it in the admin, so it's the same thing because both the admin and the theme, they use the same exact packages. And I mean Bootstrap 5.3.
Where do we use the theme right now?
Oh, we
Which
don't
recipe?
use the theme, but
Okay.
anybody that was to use the theme, at least they'll have a nicer pager or a useful pager.
Yeah, my reserve with that is if we want a minimalist theme, and we should not add stuff because then it's no more minimalist, and we will have to maintain that. And it's opening the gates to people adding stuff that they think is useful, and maybe we'll just add more stuff that we don't need. It's nice, but I don't know. That's why I asked what is the theme. I don't remember. And be careful. Like some documentation maybe could be interesting to explain how to customize a pager, how to do that. And maybe documentation to say this is how it's done in the theme. And,
yeah, but this is like a basic functionality that, because otherwise people are just going to have to start implementing their own theme derived from the theme and then adding their own styling for something that is kind of, you know, it's
we'll
there.
See. Just, yeah. Updates. It's required tenant in OpenId Validation settings UI. So OpenId was broken, and then release what?
That's backporting it back to the release 2.1.
But we didn't do anything, did we?
No, we did not. We just backported it in case we have a release. Yeah.
Twitter, set ContentType Facebook script Middleware. Group. There was a change recently to that. Like, oh, this was converted to Middleware, and it was missing that thing. Okay. Yeah, this is caching the bytes for the script. Why is it done this way? Is it me or this should be a static string? So this is a constant string, which is a constant string, but then every time we create the byte array to return, we should have a static version of the byte array here on UTF-8. So whoever is watching and wants to do that, we should do something like, hey, sorry, why doesn't my window want to come here? Here, we should do something like, as a property, private string. Maybe it's written the span script. Wait, someone is unmuted and is echoing a lot. Is that right? You're muted now. So yeah, private string span script, and then U8, which will convert that string to a UTF-8 byte array, and then it will be done once. Okay, that's the idea, and maybe it's something like that. Actually, someone will fix my code and do it this way. Where were we? Where? This one. And then fix show hide search deployment UI. Fix show hide search deployment UI. What is that? Oh, Azure AI. Okay, search Elasticsearch this index. So what do we hide? What is that?
It's a UI. The UI was broken for the AI. When you click to select an index, it doesn't show the list of indexes. So that was fixed.
Such indexes. Okay. Just for the deployment. Oh, for the deployment UI. Okay. When you want to deploy some index, you have to select which index, and it was not working. Cool. Fixed string within bug because we store the PDF text that we retrieve locally on the file system, and it was written as write only and not read write. If you want to read it, you need a read write here because we are storing it on the file system, resetting to 0 so we can read it, but we didn't read it. We could not read it, so now it's fixed. We contributor update third time AWS SDK. This one AngleSharp huge bug. We break a test. So, new Fluid fix warning.
There's another warning with about the same thing, coming from some other class which runs actually every time, or regardless of where the configuration is coming from. So this was not just unnecessary and duplicated, but also an issue because this logged a warning if you had a valid configuration, but it came from the configuration provider, like app settings.
Okay.
And the most recent commit is the same thing from the same guy about the other modules.
The guy, James, is here.
Yeah, that's me.
Are you a guy?
Sure.
Okay, so your fines are done. You're safe.
Okay, great.
Downloading GitHub Actions workflows to a new. Oh yeah, you should follow me on Blue Sky. I tweeted about it this morning. I believe. Yeah. No. Such lazy fix.
No, this is a temporary fix to unlock everything,
It's okay.
but I have an actual fix open as a pull request.
I thought about doing it for my repos actually. So it actually broke Fluid. All the tests,
Yes.
well, some tests of Fluid were failing for me, for Fluid, so probably also for Orchard, it was in the same test. So let me show you what I did then, because you will have the issues probably. I fixed, where is that? Did I not release that? Confused now. When was the last release of that thing? 1 hour ago. So okay. Apply culture encasing formatter. So this one. So what was broken is, give me some time to understand. So first, to explain the issue, the runners on GitHub were updated from ubuntu-latest. So if I go in the PR, ubuntu-latest runners, they were running 22.04, and now they are running 24.04. And so it's a new version of Ubuntu. So if you tag latest, now you get 24. So there are consequences with that. One of them was this thing, which is first, the new images, they don't have .NET 8 and 6. The 22-04, they had .NET 6 and .NET 8. The new one, 24, they just have .NET 9. So I had to update that, and we might need to do that also in Orchard to add 8 because we require 8. It's not part of the default images anymore. And the other thing that I found for Fluid was the culture, English culture. So this is the standard format that you get for daytime. Okay, and this will do like AM PM. So space AM PM. Well, you expect the space, but in the latest version of ICU, the International Culture, whatever constants, it's not a space anymore. It's a non-breaking small space or condensed space, something like that. So instead of having something like the chart 32, you have something like 20, 22. So instead of having something like that, you have something like this. Okay, and it looks like a space, but it's a non-breakable space. So this thing will just be wrapped as a unique thing, which is fine, but it's a change. And in my test, I was just checking for the space here, and it's breaking on Linux on 24.04. So now I can't do that anymore. So I have to fix it. And by the way, I also need the Turkish language to be sure that even the uppercase was using a culture. So not only that, but also the culture. So that's what will break. The ICU is changing, the .NET tests are changing, the .NET runtimes are changing. So that's a problem. Yeah. And what else did you find, Tontan, with the big?
Sorry, second.
What kind of test failed?
Like a couple dozen failed. I'm not sure why those exactly, because the issue was the same. So the .NET SDK missing, just as in Fluid. So I just changed the .NET setup configuration. By the way, the Ubuntu 24 version doesn't have .NET 9, and there's an open issue about it. It just has .NET 8.
Oh, right. I saw that. You're right. Sorry. I saw it's not. I'm not sure it's an issue. It's fine because it says yes. I thought, yeah, what I said was wrong. It removed 6 and 7 because the 22 had 6 and 7, but it's still 8. I just checked this morning. Yeah, there is a page that displays all the things that are there. It's 8. You're right, but we have that, so we installed 9.
Yep. So that kept on working. For some reason, I guess the .NET 8 specific test failed, but I don't know why, because that's actually installed. But anyway, the fix was something very similar, just with 8 and 9.
So if you change the YAML files, try to do it this way probably. So the .NET version, so you say which version you need, and like for.
Yeah, I've done pretty much the same thing. Just I actually factored out the set of .NET calls because we had like 8 of those into a custom action. So there's just one place to change now.
So that fixing the build, changes the net path. It was done earlier. Oh, now there is a 2.1, okay. Update external OrchardCore Basics companion documentation. What is that? OrchardCore Basics companion, OCBC.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay, it's a competitor to Dojo. Please,
No,
talk about
it's completely independent. We just know each other with that guy.
No, the person, you mean?
Sorry?
That person. Okay.
Yes.
And then James fixed another bad only. Oh, not just one, multiple, and fixed GitHub everywhere. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Topics. Who's first? No, demos. Who's first? 36. The quickest wins.
Mine will be something like 3 minutes.
Okay, so done you win.
Yeah, go for 3 minutes. Yeah, mine is going to take a bit.
All right. Let me share my screen. And this is about what you have shown the commit of linking it in the documentation, because this OrchardCore Basics companion is a bit of a documentation aimed at OrchardCore beginners. So as you can see, this is a Git book. So I hope it will also be open source. But for now, you can check out the content, which is basically a walkthrough from the very beginning, but for developers about development. So this is not about the user-facing stuff. So development basics, more development basics, and then we go into understanding all the fundamental OrchardCore concepts and how to work with them. So how to code everything. This was created, oh, and by the way, at the end, we get to AWS deployment. This is not mine. This whole website was created by Go Chun Lin, who we actually met in Singapore because he is usually in Singapore. And he created these resources. There's also his LinkedIn. He created these resources for his own his company, his job, where they will potentially introduce OrchardCore. So that would be interesting. And you may have seen his GitHub account as well, because now he's also an OrchardCore contributor, of course, with that link. So probably not that interesting for the people on this call, because nobody is a beginner. But if you know somebody just beginning with OrchardCore,
I am.
This can be a useful resource. Yeah, that's it.
Good, thank you.
I wish it existed last month.
Yeah, sorry, this is a bit too late for you there.
Next, Mike.
All right. So I want to talk about a new model that I worked on. And this model is an implementation of OpenAI. So the model is still being worked on. A lot of changes. You see there's almost 250 files. So it's a pretty busy, big model. And there's a lot of features. So I'm going to go over them one by one, and I try to be as quick as possible. So as you can see, there's 6 features. So you have an OpenAI feature, and it's enabled by dependency. There is an implementation of ChatGPT models inside the OpenAI. So this one is just provides you a way to say, to have profiles and be able to define your chat instances. So I want to enable this one first and kind of show what this one does. So this one provides you two things. It provides you a UI for deployments and also provides you a profile for a UI for profiles where you can add profiles, but there's nothing to add because it doesn't really have any kind of any implementations. There is data because I prepared some data for this demo, but as you can see, you can't. There's nothing for you to do here so far. So that this feature alone is not really good enough. So if I search these up, you'll see there's more features. And I want to enable this one. This one is an OpenAI implementation on Azure. So it's utilizing the Azure OpenAI services as source for the OpenAI implementation. So if I open this up or if I enable this, I can go here. And now I can go to profiles, and then I can add a profile, and you'll see you have a source, which is OpenAI source. If you click this one, what a profile is, it allows you to kind of define what you want this chat instance to do or to be. And there's a lot of settings, as you can see. I'm not going to cover all of them, but we're going to go through a few of them. But let's just say we're going to create an instance where I can just chat with, right? Just like a chatgpt.com or anything like that. So I'm going to create an instance called standard chat. I'm going to select the deployment. This is my deployment. Deployments are added through the other UI. I do not have the UI for adding deployment is not really complete for Azure, but I do have a recipe that allow you to import all your deployment that you created on your Azure account. And that's where that deployment came from, which is this one. And then profile types, we'll talk about it in a little bit. There's 3 types, but for now, I'm just going to click chat, and that's it. And I'm just going to hit save. Now, if you see here, I have a new menu here. It's called standard chat that just came up, which matches this name. If I click on it, now I have a UI where I can chat with. I can type in whatever I want. OpenAI. What is OpenAI? Let's see if it works. There you go. When was it founded? Right. So you can, and each one you could copy the prompt. So this is basically it's an instance now of Chat AI. So I have a chat already implemented here now, all of using UI. However, there's limitation to this because this is basically public knowledge at this point. If I put something like, what is the weather in Las Vegas? So we get this generic response, and I did that on purpose because I wanna lead into another function of OpenAI that I implemented, which is functions. So there's functions in OpenAI which allows the OpenAI model to actually call your code, and then you're able to utilize code, like call a third-party service like an API and get like a real-time weather information. So this doesn't work. I just want to kind of briefly go and show the function of how it works. So I'm going to go back to my standard chat profile, and in here, there's available function. This function, I actually prepared it real quick for the demo. It doesn't really do anything, but I'm just going to check it so I can say, hey, I want this chat to be able to use this function. And if I go back, by the way, here, there's a list of my history of all my previous chats. So now if I say, what is the weather in Las Vegas, and now I'm gonna, I get a breakpoint because I am, okay. So before we show, so look at that. Now it comes back and actually gave me a weather. This is not a real answer. It's just some made up stuff that I had to put in my function just so it can return something. The whole reason is I want to show a little bit of the function. So if you look here, you can actually implement any function you want, just simply by either driving from this class or implement this interface. You can put the method name or the function name that you want to use, description of it, what should it do. You can define your method. You can even define the type. What should this method return? But then you have to implement this invoke method. This invoke method accepts a JSON object and returns an object. An object can be anything. It can be a string or it can be a complex object. In this case, I put a complex object just because I wanted to kind of show a little bit more than just a string, but you could easily here return a string and it will go back to the model. So I just want to put a breakpoint and then I want to put here, what about yeah. So now you'll notice that my code, so what happened here, the OpenAI model called my function, which is something I put in code, and it provided me an arguments, and these arguments is location, Seattle, Washington, and that's it. And I'm able to cast it here. And then, well, here I could have called an API and return a real data, but in this case, I just put in junk data just so we can have some sort of function. But yeah, this is the idea behind functions, is that you're able to define a function through code, and then you're able to call that. The OpenAI model will automatically call that. So you can define the method in the code, but then you'll have to select it in the UI. So anytime you add a function to the code, you'll see it on the list here, and then it's up to you to say, I want the profile to use it or not. Because when it comes to OpenAI, adding function will increase your cost, because every single time you have to send the definition of the function, and OpenAI might have to call it, and then so there's more traffic. So it's optional if you want to use it or not. So that's the functions of function OpenAI function ChatGPT. So now we did this. This is all cool, but what else can we do with it? So another thing that you can do here is that you can go to widgets, design widgets, and then you can actually inject a widget on the front end. So with the OpenAI implementation, there's a content type called chat widget that you can add, and then standard chat, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to say show it always, and we're going to select the profile, which is the standard profile, the one we created. And then we're just going to hit publish. And then if I go to the front end, you'll see you have a chat button here that you can open up, and then you can ask similar, you can do the same thing. I don't know, whatever. What is OpenAI? I don't know, or something else. So anyway, so you're able to do the same chat here. You can start a new chat, you can close it, and so on and so forth. So now you have a way to add the OpenAI chat implementation into Orchard. But then what else can we do with that? So we already have an implementation of Search AI already. So now I added a way where we can integrate both the API, the OpenAI AI, with the chat AI. So what I did to demo this a little bit more is I created a content definition here for, I just put documentation page, and really this does nothing. What I did is I actually created a few documents here, and I copied OrchardCore documentation. So I got, you know, whatever, copied and pasted it here, just so I can have documents. And then I went to the index here and I created a new index. I called it demo. If you edit this, I'm only saying index only document pages. So just so I can have data in my Search AI index. The reason why I did that is I want to be able to chat with OpenAI, using OpenAI the ChatGPT models against my own data, right? So I don't want the public knowledge. I don't want to ask it about OpenAI. I just want it to only focus on the data that I provided. So I can go in here, whoops, and I can create a new profile. And oh, well, before we do that, we have to enable another feature. I forgot. So if I go on OpenAI, there's another feature here. It's called Azure OpenAI with Azure Search. It's another feature. And if we click here to enable it, we can go back to profiles, and then we can add a new profile, and you'll see now there's another source. So before we saw this, but now you have two, so you can pick and choose which profile source you want to use. So we're going to use this. And here we're just going to say docs, whatever. We're going to call it docs. I'm going to use the same deployment. And also we're going to use, so in here you have another option. It's called index, which index you want to use because of the source. So in this case, I'm just going to say, hey, I want to select my demo index and I want to save. Now you'll see here that I have the docs chat. So if you click here, and then you can ask it, if I say, what is OpenAI? I expect no answer, but I don't know, I could be surprised here. Okay, so it made up something, but it has nothing to do with, it's a general knowledge. But if you ask it something outside the box, it wouldn't answer because it's really looking only on the content that you provided. But I can say, what communication methods does OrchardCore support? And this one, the reason why you should know this, because there's information about that inside the documentation that I put. So there you go, OrchardCore supports communication, blah, 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 blah. And the reason why it knows that is because, again, I put the documentation. And if I put what is, or how to configure, and if I can type Elasticsearch, so now it's just going after the documents that I provided, and here it goes. So it tells you exactly how to do it, and it's nicely formatted, and that's it. And then if I say, what about Azure Search AI? Whoops, AI mistyped. I bet it will understand me, and it's giving me the instructions on how to do it. So the idea here is that you're able to create a chat on your own data, on your own content items that are found in here. Similarly, you could search through your conversation. You can start a new session, and same thing. If I go back here, I'm going to show you one more thing. If I click here, I click Generate Chat Summary. This is another utility, and now it's kind of taken all the conversation that I had with that and it's summarizing it. And this is something called the utility, at least that's what I named it. And this is something that I created earlier for the sake of this meeting. And if you click Edit, you'll see the difference. So here, I changed the type. So earlier we utilized, actually this is a template generated prompt, not utility. Earlier we saw the chat type. This is a template generated prompt because you're able to configure it to do anything you want. So in here, I actually provided a template that that we wrote and using Liquid, and then you're able to go through the data you have and just basically create a prompt, which is a dynamic prompt. Here, you're able to define your system message, whatever the description, what do you really want the system to do? And then I even have a subject. And what this does, it just allows me to, if I go back here, it just allows me to put a title in here, and then it allows me here, in this case, to summarize my entire conversation. But obviously, you can customize anything you want. Anything you put generated, the generated prompt, it will go in this menu automatically. So if you added a new profile that does something else, that you can utilize and put in here. There is one more thing that I don't have a demo for, which is a utility. A utility is something that you can, basically you can give the system description instructions or what should it be or what it is, and then you're able to give it like one prompt. So instead of having a chat, like a full-blown chat like we saw, you'll have a one-off, like a utility that does something. Like, for example, take this string and like reward it or whatever, right? Or like fix it or something like that, right? So that would be a utility. And then also here you have another option when you create a profile that you're able to, the title, so your session here, the session has a title. So you could actually configure how you want the title to look like. So in this case, you could have it set as the first prompt. So whatever the first prompt that the user type, that would be a title. Or you can say generate a title based on the first prompt, so that it will use AI to help us generate a title for the conversation. And then, there's other, parameters that you can utilize to fine tune the AI model or limit it. There's a bunch of defaults. I tried to document as much as I can to try to make it descriptive. But that's it. And also you can, when you have permissions, you're able to permissions. So if I go security and then I go here and let's say we want to edit this. I forgot what it's called. Open. Let's just search AI. Yeah, so here you have custom permission for each one of the profiles. So you can say, hey, can you query the AI profile that's called docs or not? So you can control the permissions as well. So you can show and hide it whenever you want to, because if you don't have permission to the standard chat, maybe you don't want no one to have access to it or whatever. So you can actually do that. I think that's it. I don't know if I missed anything, but this is it.
Thank you. Are you using Microsoft Extensions AI?
Microsoft Extension AI? You mean
Yep.
the package?
Yes.
No.
You
I
should.
one time did, and I actually stopped using it because it was very buggy and I couldn't get the same results as if I just called the API directly.
What about semantic kernel?
I never messed with it, so I did not do it. I did not use it.
So you should use Microsoft Extension AI because it will abstract the service. So you could write it for OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Olama, all the things you want. And then we can provide them more providers for OpenAI, even local ones using Olama and Docker images. So that would be good. And if there are bugs, just find them and they will fix it.
I'll look at it. I seen it when the in the Microsoft that meeting last, was it December?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah,
didn't
November,
really
there
get a
was
chance to miss it.
the .NET conference here. Yeah, some demo.
Yeah, in the
it was shipped last month. Yeah, right. So
yeah,
that's
I
cool.
didn't get a chance to mess with it.
And then you can, and the nice thing is that then you can have a local Docker image and use Olama. You don't have to pay anything for OpenAI, and you can test it. And if you still prefer OpenAI, you can still use OpenAI. So it's nicer. And matches the Orchard extensibility that you have interfaces, and then you can provide different implementations. So if you enable the OpenAI module, then you have your thing with OpenAI. But if you enable the Azure OpenAI, then it will use Azure OpenAI. And all your UI is the same, or could be the same, whatever the provider is.
Yeah, I mean, I already have my interfaces around everything that I need here.
You see?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but because this is an Orchard thing, but I mean, it's. I guess I could look at that and see if I can make it.
You know better,
Yeah.
so you will see what it does. It also supports the callbacks for your own functions. So.
Yeah, we have that too.
Well, I'm saying that you have that, but they abstracted it so it works with every provider.
Yeah, that's what I have. It should work with every implementation. But I will.
But you don't have
definitely look at that.
implementations. But you don't have the implementations for all the. You don't want to do that.
No,
You want.
no. Oh, they have implementations for like
Yeah.
common functions.
I'm not sure that not for common functions for the AI providers themselves, like OpenAI, Azure OpenAI, Olama.
Well, I mean, OpenAI has the definitions, so everybody else, like Azure, is an implementation of OpenAI.
Not really. You don't have to comply with the implementation, the API of OpenAI. Azure complies with some of it and has other methods than OpenAI has.
Yeah, I agree.
And
like the search
you
and
say,
your good data.
And yes, the API is nice. It's the same thing, but the REST client. So yeah, there is a .NET OpenAI REST client, but there is the Microsoft Extension AI implementations that is another abstractions over the .NET OpenAI and other providers. You should look into it. You will understand. And yeah. It shouldn't be buggy because the people working on that, they are the best in the .NET team. So pretty sure it works well. I've seen some demos and I've used that. So. Cool. Other people have questions?
Yeah, I would have a couple. The first of all, very cool. Is this the open sourcing of the thing you have shown at Harvest? I'm not sure how public that is.
No, this is different. Yeah, this is different. This is the OpenAI implementation. It's here.
You need workflow. So yeah, you need workflow task now. Like your utilities should be a workflow task, right? And then
use Sipka's project for that.
Well, I mean, your project is there. So you have your utilities. You just expose every utility as a workflow thing, and then
one thing about these functions, how does the system know which function to call? So, like, how does it match the question, was the weather in Seattle, to that code that you had?
So when you make calls to the OpenAI, you're actually telling it, hey, I understand this function. So you give it a function definition. And then if it thinks that the user is asking about something that the function can handle, then it will automatically parse out the data. Like if you notice when I asked it about the weather, when I asked about the weather, what it did, it knew the location is Seattle, but it knows my function is also looking for a location. So it took Seattle and sent it to my function. Now my function has the parameters it needs, and it knows that OpenAI is looking for an answer, and then it's able to process whatever logic you want, and it provides the whatever return type that you want.
Okay, I see. So this is decided by the model then.
Correct. The function is not always called. It's only called when needed. So if I ask about something other than weather, it will never call my function because, I'm not asking about weather.
Okay, I see. Another question about the custom content you have. How is that used by the model? So I guess it's not that the model is trained on that, or is it somehow further trained with that content, or is it extending the prompt, or what happens?
Well, so what happened is that you create the Azure AI, the Search AI index, right? That's what I did here. So here I created an index called a demo, right? And then I said I want to index my document pages, which is the same exact thing what we do when we do a search on the front end, right? Like Elastics, same thing. But this one, it indexes the data in such a way that the AI model is able to actually understand it and search through it using ChatGPT. So when I create the profile here, this profile, I was able to say, hey, go ahead and use only the demo index. So in this case, you see, say select index. So I selected my index, my demo index, and now it's searching against that data and that data only. So it has like a common knowledge meaning like not public information, meaning like it knows how to behave, how to talk to you, like how to chat. So it knows that. So if you ask a question, it'll understand it, you know, but it will only limit its response based on the data that's in my index. So that's how it it works. Does that make sense?
So does the model actually search via Azure AI search?
Yes.
Okay, I see. So basically you can have a question answer way of querying the search index that you can otherwise also query with traditional search queries.
It's kind of similar to the functions, but instead of calling a function, it's doing a search, I guess.
Kind of. It's just you're giving it your data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to use more Liquid.
Yeah. I used Liquid. Look.
But you use this for the template, but you should use it for the prompts, because the main thing with OpenAI models is that like the behavior, how it behaves from the questions, from the chats, is usually based on prompts. You name them, but these are templates which can include other micro templates to explain how to format things, how to grab things. Like I know how it works in Copilot, and all the prompts, they are just Liquid templates that just explain how to understand the data and how to get knowledge and format knowledge, and it's just Liquid everywhere.
I think you mean in well, I mean, I would love to say exactly more, but you mean in the system description, you want to use Liquid, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's mostly just includes for lots of different sources or behaviors that you can share. Like, and in the end, you could even have a library of prompts that you can reuse and to build your own ones. It's hard to figure out which ones right now because it's the early stages. But I assume as you get users try to do something, you will find patterns and you can say, oh, I want to reuse that. So let's make it a reusable prompt. And then you can say, oh, these are all available. And then in their prompt, they can say, inject this one, inject this one, inject this one. And in Liquid, it's an include this prompt, and so I will try to give you some examples. That's cool. Awesome. There was the next topic from Zoltan.
Yeah, the admin area. And this started from this pull request that I put in the chat by Mike about reorganizing the admin menu. And while looking through that and during the weeks past, I think what we actually need is a new admin theme, or rather a new admin UX, pretty much all around. Not necessarily rewriting the whole thing, but at least have a new admin theme, have guidelines on how we want to do UI on the admin, and then potentially piece by piece update it if we want, but at least have the guidelines for the future, the new features, and also fix something that's very important, like the content editor, because if we are breaking the user experience, then I think we should do it in a way that we can be sure that we don't want to do it again in like the next 3 years. And that needs some preparation. That's where the whole thing starts. What I would suggest is involving a UX person here. The work of them, Lombiq can sponsor. I sent out a couple of emails and also published a some kind of an ad on an open source design website to see who would be interested on working on something like this. So if you are okay with that, we can go from there, see whether we can find somebody who would like to work with us and who would be capable of pretty much rethinking how we do the admin area. Because currently it's something that's created by developers, mostly for developers, but it's always something that that when I talk about OrchardCore and people ask or point out some issues, that I say that, yeah, well, this is not the best part of OrchardCore, but it's functional. But I would like to get rid of that little bit of awkwardness and have a really good admin area. And that's something that we actually started to do. Well, the community started to do multiple times over. I don't think it ever bear any concrete fruit that eventually got into production. But also back in Orchard 1, we started to have a new admin theme that kind of was scrapped for legal reasons, I believe. But we can do it again for OrchardCore. What does everyone think?
I can speak from my experience as a new user. It was definitely for me very clearly 5 by devs, 4 devs, as you said. That's probably the biggest thing. Is I noticed like even basic stuff like content types and content items, like that's not obvious what that is without looking it up. So it's very much modeled after the development experience, and you have to know your Orchard terms as well. And as I just think about the updating the like the layout, and I realized I was sort of, as a new user, I was sort of thinking like, oh, what this navigation could be better, which is what I think Mike was the one working on that. But what I realized was I think the navigation menu is just a feature that people point at when they don't know what to do with the UI because it's confusing. So basically what happened for me is like, I'm trying to figure out how to use UI, and I do something and it's like, what do I do now? Okay, so I go to the sidebar and I look at, okay, which one of these do I go to? So I blame the UI navigation menu or the menu. But yeah, overall, I think that would be fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always used to hear newcomers because obviously that's where we have the actual experience where the rubber meets the road, because the maintainers already know the whole thing. So even if it's clunky, they are used to it. And we of course understand the principles. So you use something like content type, content item doesn't matter for us.
Anybody else has an opinion? No one cares.
No,
Well,
My suggestion is that is there a benchmark that we can use as a matter of reference as to what is the better UI for an admin, for an admin page? Is like Drupal a good benchmark? I don't know. I'm not too familiar, but my point is, first, I guess we need a benchmark just to understand what's good, and second, I think engaging a UX person would also be a good step moving forward, so that at least we have something on the user side, not just for devs.
Yeah, I think if we don't do a UX designer, I'd be concerned about it being different, but not necessarily better.
Zoltan, can you find back the thing that was done for Orchard 1 when it was redone?
I can only vaguely remember, but I think somebody, and perhaps Sipka was kind of the leader of that initiative. Somebody has taken an open source dashboard template, like a Bootstrap one, and started to rebuild the Orchard admin on that. But I think why it wasn't integrated, or perhaps Antoine, you also worked on that. But it wasn't integrated because I think it wasn't open source, or it wasn't compatible license-wise with Orchard.
I think it was just too hard, too complex, too big of a task to do, and then it went nowhere. There was no traction because people have other things to do, and the people who do the things, they'd rather do something else than do the admin.
Perhaps, but I think it was mostly done.
Yeah, no, on the paper there were PDFs and everything. Or yeah, mostly done. The 90% was done. The issue is not the 90%, it's the last 10%. You never get them. So you can't, yeah, that's the issue. On the paper it's easy. Then when you apply it, good luck. So yeah, I'm like, sure, we can work on that. But that will take years, and I'm not even joking. It can take years. That's
exactly the same concern. We're trying to take the request is to reorganize the menu, and now you want to take that and you want to amplify it by making it a bigger project that will never end, and then we kind of will draft away from where we started. Now redesigning the admin theme will be great, but I think it should be a separate project. I think Neeraj have shown us last time he built something around components. So something like that would be great to have from like functionality perspective. But I really think that the admin menu should be completely separate discussion than an entire theme, because it's just a bigger project. Now, hiring a UI expert to look at the navigation menu and give us their opinion based on their experience, that would be nice. If that's what we want to do, right? But I just don't think that admin menu, the organization of the admin menu, should have anything to do with changing the theme. If we change the menu now and then the new theme, changes how the menu look like, sure, but the placement will still be where we kind of left it. That's my issue with that approach, is that it's just going to take forever and it will never go anywhere.
No, the admin theme is just where the code lives, but I'm not talking about like changing the colors and the styling. I'm talking about improving the whole admin experience. So that means that we might not have we surely wouldn't have the same menu items in the menu. So that's why I'm saying that we can't just look at the menu itself, because we have those menu items based on some principles, or like the lack of principles, or usually a lack of planning. If we reorganize them, we might end up with something better, but I would take a step back and check whether we actually, for example, need those menu items. Do we need such a menu? Do we want to call these features as such? If you look at the admin or the editor UX of some of the apps that you use every day, I haven't looked much into other CMSs, but something like Basecamp, for example, it's not about the menu. The menu is part of the UX, and it's an important part of that, but there's a lot more to navigation, and there's a lot more to the whole UX, for the lack of better word of it.
There is a lot more. That's the issue. And once you have done a lot more, you realize how many features we have, and you don't want to break. And if you have a new paradigm of displaying stuff, you need to change it in every page. I don't imagine how many CSS, HTML we have that will have to be updated. and all at once, because you can't say, well, it's hard to ship half of it with a new paradigm and half of it without the new paradigm, because I assume there are incompatibilities. So it has to be shipped at once. And it's it's like a merge nightmare. Like whenever there is a new feature, how do you maintain? You have to implement twice for the old and the new, just to be sure you can switch at some point. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it will take years because of the amount of work and the resources. Who will do that? James, are you ready? What do you do the next 2 years? And and maybe James next month won't be there anymore to just update the doc. And that's the same thing for everyone. And I think that was the case also with Orchard one. So there is that. There is the amount of work. There is the resources. There is the management. Like how do you switch from one to the other? The continuity and what's the solution? Like I'm sure you will get whatever solution. Then someone else will come with, oh no, there is better to do, or it's not as good, it's not better than the previous one. It's new, so you will get people like it because it's new. Like whenever it's new, it's nice. But you contract someone to do an admin UI, and you'll be like, well, I have better ideas because they are pros. You are a pro. You are a web pro. You've done web your whole life, like the pros, and you won't be worse than anyone to help designing an admin menu or new UI experience just by looking at the existing CMS and what you like. Because pros, they don't do that every day. How many CMS have they implemented the pros? None. We have done more CMS than the pros that will define the UI of your CMS. Or use more times the CMSs than the pros that you will hire to define your CMS. So I'm also skeptical about what will be done by a pro to do the UI. Or they will just take an admin template on the web, like there are hundreds of them made by other pros, and say, this is the one you should use. You could have done that. We did that 10 years ago and 20 years ago also. So yeah, I don't want to be, I know I'm the guy who always complains about things and push back about everything. But yeah, I like the fact that you want to move, but I'm skeptical about the result.
Well, unless we think that the OrchardCore admin experience is perfect, eventually we have to start working on it.
People like remember when we came from Orchard 1 to OrchardCore, you're like, oh, the admin is so nice, it's fast, useful, it's nicer to use, it's easier. Yeah, you can always go better. But that's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. I have a plan outlined, by the way, that I also linked in the chat. I don't think we have to do all at once. Obviously, it's impactful and breaking, both UI-wise and code-wise. But I don't think it has to be done all at once. But if we do it, then it's obviously something that we should only do if we think that it's important, because it's definitely a lot of work.
I would join Laren's suggestion about looking at what other CMSs do. I'm sure we can find 10 CMSs, at least, that have all the features we have, and see how they organize it, how the user experience is from the developer's perspective, from the content manager perspective, and try to document that and find some patterns that we like in the other ones and that we like in Orchard, just to understand, to see if we can understand what is missing in OrchardCore that we could start to work on to define the first thing to do. Maybe it will be an admin menu, maybe it will be add a side pane that appears on the right like Umbraco, maybe it will be changing the fonts and the sizes and remove Bootstrap. I don't know, but maybe we would have ideas of what we like and what we don't like in either products to drive the improvement in manageable things. So we can agree.
I think we all agree that we should invest a lot of time into the admin UI. But I think what Zoltan is saying here is that we should do everything all at once. I think that's the issue. I don't disagree that we should spend time on the admin theme. But I just think that we shouldn't really have to not change the menu, because at some point in time we all agree that the admin theme should be changed. I think that's the thing. I think it's a small the admin UI is a small win that will have a better experience from navigating until we spend those years to come to improve the UI for the admin theme. That's the issue. And don't forget, and if we decide to take that work and we decided we want to change the admin theme, you know, everyone out there is going to have to do a lot more work to comply with the new theme. So keep that in mind as well.
There is also the tech stack, like, or web components is one thing, like server-side rendering versus, I don't know, what's the single page app stuff. Like, we had these discussions also when we started OrchardCore. The amount of technologies you need to build the admin is limited in OrchardCore right now. So that's also super helpful, because you want to add a page, create a CSS HTML and put a controller and action to that. Done. Like, now if you need to learn other technologies, and you have to, like today you can use Vue.js, but you don't have to. But if tomorrow you have to use whatever special framework, it has to be simple. So many things to think about. So yeah, I like to see if we can come with some examples of what could be better, and examples in other applications, not just CMS. Basecamp is one. All the things you like in Basecamp, and how could you apply them in the admin? All the things you like in Drupal, and how can you apply them? All the things that everyone in the Drupal community doesn't like, and think like maybe would think that OrchardCore does better. I'd like to know also these things, so we don't lose them.
I think pretty much that's where design work starts, by looking around and understanding what we want and what we definitely don't want.
It's lunchtime. It's also nighttime for you, most of you watching.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So what
Thanks,
did we decide before we go? What did we decide on?
Nothing
on that?
to just improve the design, suggest the design work, and understand what are the goals, what can be improved. And admin menu is one of the things, but are there other things also that could be done at the same time in parallel? Discussions. But I don't think that this discussion was about your admin PR, at least.
No, it's about the whole thing, right? It's about what do we want to deliver, right?
Oh, talk about it during a few weeks or months again, still to agree on what has to be done next. So far, it's just starting the discussion. Focusing the discussion on the admin thing, not just the admin menu.
Okay, do you have something actionable? Once I get some replies, or we can start discussions with some people, I will get back to you, everyone here. And as for the pull request, Mike, I'm still on the same opinion, but I've written there, but I don't want to be the sole person opposing it. So whatever everyone there would like to do, let's do that.
Be continued. Okay, thanks everyone. See you on Thursday.
Thank you.
Next week.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
See you all. Bye-bye.